Hello, everybody. Today we will be debating over what matters most when choosing a home, size or location.
Our team is made up by me and Saeed, and we're in favor of size.
Our team is made up by Randy and me, and we're in favor of the location.
We'll begin. We believe size is much more important than location, since a big house allows for so many more opportunities. It provides a private area for yourself and your family, while also being flexible for stuff like decoration and modification in case if it's necessary. It provides much more space and room, ideal for making sure everything has space in case it needs to be saved. And other than that, it's also much more comfortable since you don't need you don't feel cramped by a big house. And it can also have a higher resale value since many people like big houses. And if it ever comes to that, it's very it's it can be a very nice way to obtain money to sell it.
On the other hand, we believe location is more important than size. The reason we state this is that a good location offers safety, convenience, and access to important services. The location of a house affects daily life more than the amount of space that there is inside it. When you choose a home, you're more likely to choose it based on the proximity to local services like work, schools, stores, or to be near family.
Looking back at your argument during your opening, we can see that you say people are most likely to choose a home based on location. However, a survey made by Barclays Mortgages proves otherwise, with the majority of people choosing a house based on location. It's also important to note that a house in a good location can be very crowded and uncomfortable to live in since many cars pass by. Also, bigger houses can be ideal to bigger families with a ton of members, while also being flexible enough to provide space. Plus, some houses can be made to be green buildings, much more ecological friendly than houses in a good space.
Despite your valid reasons, it's also important to know that a big home is in everything. Sure, you can have a huge house, but what if it's unsafe and dangerous because there's a risk of criminals breaking in? Location solves this by making sure houses are in a safe zone. In case of an emergency, it's important to have access to service areas like hospitals um, and areas like that. It can save lives, especially if it's a critical issue. Not only that, but these houses aren't the most energy efficient. They waste ton of energy since they must provide it to different rooms at all times. They aren't as eco-friendly as one might think. A house in a good location can provide green areas like parks while also keeping a healthy atmosphere.
So you've told me that houses in a better location are worth it because they are close to everything. However, this doesn't justify the enormous amounts of traffic these zones produce. As well, some houses in better zones aren't really that big, make it even more uncomfortable to live there. Something that is solved by bigger houses, which are much more cheaper and they are much more comfortable to live in because their size, they provide a lot of privacy. So my question to you is it really worth it to live somewhere cramped because of its nice location?
While some may disagree, yes, it is. Imagine having everything close to you: the supermarket, the school for the kids, and your work. Everything is close by. Even with the amount of traffic, it wouldn't feel like an issue. And it also provides easy access to main streets, making transportation issues so much easier. I have to ask, Isn't a big house a worse investment since it costs so much money to maintain? Something that a smaller house wouldn't have issues with?
Yes, it is worth it because by already buying the big house, you already must have known the responsibility it comes with it. It's long-term but necessary investment. Even if access to public areas may be more limited, it isn't better to have the privacy that you want all the time. Maybe commute times are longer, but you'll be spending more time at home. A big house allows you to decorate it and make it actually feel like house. Something that a smaller house can simply not do. It can be flexible. Why is it that you believe that a big house is a bad investment when houses in a good location have been proven to be much more expensive?
Even if houses in a good location are more expensive, it's a much better investment. We already talked about easy transportation, but what about the clean surroundings and the choosing a stronger sense of belonging? These are necessary when choosing your home. Nobody wants to live somewhere dirty and unsafe with crime. A house is in a good location prevents that. You are safer, happier, since you feel that you belong and you actually feel like your home is your home. A big house can be cold and uncomfortable to be in without the empty space. A smaller house feels warmer.
Now, to conclude, our team believes that size is the most important factor when choosing a home since it provides flexibility and adaptability. It provides space for bigger families while also housing them without any issues. Rooms can be changed and adapt at all times, so you can be much more comfortable in it, making it a house that's actually yours. Plus, it's also cheaper than a house on a good location.
Our team concludes that the location of a house is the most important factor because it provides a much cleaner, safer area to live in, which makes people feel much more comfortable with their homes. They have easy access to daily services while also providing a sense of belonging to the people who live there with the friendly neighbors. A house on a better location is also a better investment on a long term, since, since it has a resale value that a bigger house most of the time doesn't have.
To make a general conclusion, in conclusion, we believe that both sides presented strong and valid arguments. The size side explained that a larger house can offer many advantages, such as more space for families, for storage, and the possibility of adding rooms for different purposes. These can also provide much more privacy, recreational areas, and even green space, which can improve comfort and daily living. On the other hand, the location side emphasized the importance of where the house is situated. They argued that location is more important than size since it can provide cleaner surroundings, safer neighborhoods, easier access to schools, services, and main streets. And houses in a good location overall increase their value over time and can offer shorter commutes and a healthier atmosphere. Finally, the decision between size and location depends on each person's priorities and lifestyles. Larger families may prefer a larger house with more space and flexibility, while others, such as smaller families or people who live alone, may value safety, convenience, and long-term investment more. Both factors are important, but the best choice is the one that fits the needs and goals of the people who live in the house. Now to begin our personal reflections. I learned from defending this position that it's not easy to choose a house mainly based on location and size. It's important to consider both aspects. Although I do consider that a big house is usually much more comfortable. I believe I did remain open to the opposing perspective since I tried to understand their side while also giving my own personal opinion. The strongest argument from the other team was honestly the I feel like it was the resale value, since it is true that a house in a bigger location, no, sorry, on a better location is usually much better to be resold as than a bigger house. A bigger house is overall much more expensive to maintain. And I felt like I contributed to my team by um overall studying what was I gonna say, making a little script over what my ideas were gonna be, and I tried to stay open to my other teammates' ideas as well.
So my personal reflection would be, what I learned from defending my position is that people tend to prefer larger houses because they have more space, either to create a big family, or they need the space to make other activities such as hobbies or green spaces. I did remain open to the opposite position perspective or position. It's the same because I feel like location is also important while choosing a house. Maybe like having a balance between those two options while choosing a house. The strongest argument that the other team gave while while debating the importance of size or location was perhaps the proximity to services such as markets or houses or better neighborhoods, family, workplaces, and schools, since I believe many people, especially in the city, choose to live in areas that are near from those services. So that's an option that I believe it's real and important, such in a city such as Tijuana. And how did I contribute to my team? I did some research on a few aspects or arguments to defend the poster of why size is more important than location.
Uh, as my personal reflection, I can say that I learned a lot doing this debate and defending my position. And something that I learned is that many people chooses a location over size because of the comfort that living near the work or school and gives to them and their daily life. I consider that I remain open to the opposing perspective because I listen to all the arguments and statements the other team gave. And even if I didn't say, I agreed with some of them. And I think that the strongest argument they gave was the part about the privacy and comfort that a big house gives in comparison to a house that was bought, bought because of the location. And with a big family, I think that that is so important to consider because privacy is something that makes you feel safe in your home. And sometimes with bigger families, there's lack of it. And I contribute to my team with writing the essay and also to defending our posture to the arguments of the other team.
No, ahí está entonces.
From defending this position, I learned that location can have a big impact on daily life because it affects safety, access to services, and convenience. I stayed open to the opposing perspective and understood the larger house can provide more space and comfort for families. The strongest argument that the other team was that a bigger house offers more privacy and flexibility. I contributed to my team by explaining why a location can make people feel safer, happier, and more connected to their community.